Amin, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate having you here on the Today Show Blue Sofa. I know you've spoken previously a lot about your revert journey. You can see it online. We did an interview with yourself on YouTube. You can see it. I want to focus after that. After you reverted, what's your journey been like? Because it's been around 2 years or so since you reverted, if that's right.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. So what's that journey been like? Because everyone hears the stage of the revert and they think they lived happily ever after. But there's a whole other stage that comes after that. So tell me what that's been like.
It's been fun.
Nice.
I think that's good, right?
Yeah, it's always good to hear.
It's been fun. It's been challenging, definitely, navigating and learning the religion of Islam, because it's not as black and white, and as in many ways it is black and white, but it's not as easy and simple as it maybe seems from the outside, which is just like you say, oh, you know, okay, follow the Quran, but there's a lot that comes into it after that, right?
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because I can't remember which lecture it was. I remember watching a lecture talking about why do we as Muslims, when people revert to Islam, we just tell them all the rules. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. We don't ever tell them about the beauty of Islam. So what was your experience of that? Was it always, you know, someone telling you this what you can't do, this what you can't do, or were you given a more kind of open Islam when you first reverted?
So I think the most amazing thing now is that we have the internet. So it's a bit different for me specifically. I didn't have anybody really giving me da'wah or anything like that. So I accepted Islam on my own in my room by myself, and then obviously I took my Shahadah like in front of people to make sure it was cool and good. But like aside from that, I didn't like really get in contact with Muslims. So where I was taking my knowledge from online. So I was able to, basically the same way that I researched Islam and researched all religions, in terms of listening to one person and listening to another, and difference of opinions and all of these things like that. I really just did that on my own, kind of, trying to figure out what I should be doing as a Muslim. And when it comes to like what you're talking about is true. Like a lot of reverts, they come in and they get thrown all of these rulings and stuff like that, and they get overwhelmed. For me, I think it was a bit different, again, just because of the way that I accepted Islam. I had already learned a lot about the religion in terms of like what it means to be a Muslim before I accepted Islam. And so for me, it really was, okay, now I just want to learn, okay, the halals, the harams, the aqidah issues, and like what all these things, like these extra things. But the basics of Islam, I think I already kind of understood, at least to a minor level.
You said you weren't really surrounded by Muslims. You had the internet to help you when you first reverted. Did it ever feel lonely? Did you ever feel like you were on your own, or?
I felt like I was on my own for some part of it. But I thrive. I wouldn't say I felt lonely, because I don't really, I don't mind it. But slowly I developed a community of people and stuff like that over time. But yeah, maybe at the start it was a little bit like difficult, because I was making all these changes in my life and I didn't have anybody around there to reinforce them. It was all just personal decisions that I was making by myself, with nobody to say you're doing the right thing or anything like that. Because everybody around me thinks I'm, doing the wrong thing, going the wrong way, or making bad decisions. But I think it developed as well like a stronger backbone for myself, like now, because I think even as Muslims, we're not like perfect. We're not all the greatest representation of Islam, myself included. And so having the ability to just make my decision and stick by it without kind of outside noise, or caring about outside noise as much, has helped me.
Where did the name Amin come from? Because obviously you had a previous name. You decided to change your name.
Yeah.
Why Amin?
So I still go by Drew Davis, which was my previous name, but I just also go by Amin Davis. It's kind of like, it depends who I'm talking to. Right. Whatever's going to be easier. But I do like the name Amin. And I chose the name Amin because I think I really care about, when somebody calls me by my name, that it has a meaning. And I think that was the one thing that I was missing from my name, my previous name, Drew Davis. And I still go by that just because I think, you know, again, we talk about reverts that they get pushed down these paths, and you don't have to change your name when you take your Shahadah and you become a Muslim. And I think as well, there's many times like it's not even wise to do it. Like I think, you know, I know myself, like if and when, inshallah, I have kids, that I'm going to care about what I name them, and I'm going to value the name that I give them. And so my parents, whether they're Muslim or not, are supposed to be treated with the highest level of respect. And because of that, I feel like they, you know, they raised me, they took care of me, they gave me everything. And then I became a Muslim at 19, and I'm just going to throw away the name they gave me. It didn't make sense to me. But I chose Amin because of the meaning. I think it's beautiful to be called by Amin, and then, you know, I have to respond with what that word means, which is trustworthy and honest and devout, sincere, and all of these beautiful words that I think every single person should try and uphold as characteristics.
You mentioned your parents there. What was your family's reaction when you said, you know, you were going to revert to Islam, and your friends as well?
Most of them were just shocked. I don't think anybody saw it coming, because again,
Really, but you were researching. Like, did they not know that?
I didn't tell anybody. I was
okay. So you're researching in private. Okay.
Yeah. Because I felt like I didn't think anything was gonna come of it. That's the truth. I started off as an atheist, agnostic, leaning more towards atheism, you know. And then after I decided to do my own research, I thought, okay, I'll just end up still an atheist once I disprove everything. And then it became, okay, maybe there's a God, but there's probably a God, but I'm not going to become religious. And then all of a sudden I end up believing Islam's the truth. So it was a very fast and quick change, for me at least. And so I think it was initial shock for them. Nobody saw it coming really. And
did you just go to them and be like, guys, I've decided I'm going to become a Muslim? Or?
Some of them. So my parents, they knew. My mom knew a little bit beforehand. Like I told her, like, I've been researching Islam and I really find it like interesting, because I started to realize, okay, there's a possibility this is the truth. Like now let me just ease it into it a little bit. But I think it was really just shock, a little bit of worry from the misconceptions around Islam and, you know, what it means to be a Muslim. But I, you know, explained things to them over time and told them if they have any questions, just come to me. And they've been supportive, and I've helped them understand certain things. And even their perspective on Muslims and Islam has changed.
Amazing. You always hear those stories of maybe parents or family or friends who've pushed back when someone has wanted to revert. So it's amazing to hear that they were so supportive. Now, I mean, you're also a Nasheed artist. You're an actor. You've worked in Hollywood, Netflix, all this sort of stuff. How do you, come into that frame of work? Because you were already there before you became Muslim. When you reverted, how did you manage being in that world again, but this time, rather than as Drew Davis, you were Amin Davis?
Yeah, like, I think for the most part, like with the TV and film industry, really it just came down to, I think everything in life really comes down to priorities. And if you have a priority that's not God, then, I mean, you're worshiping something else. That's the reality of what it means to worship, right? Is to sacrifice and, you know, and act in obedience to and prioritize whatever you prioritize is what you're worshiping. So for me, like once I accepted Islam, I think I prioritized Islam. I prioritized pleasing God above everything else, and at least I try to. And so because of that, everything else that I like or love to do or want to do needed to shape around that value of Islam and Islamic morals and Islamic values. And so just for the most part, it became just being more selective, prioritizing, you know, my faith over, you know, a role or fame or wealth, and trying my best to stay firm on that.
Is that difficult to do, to prioritize, especially in a world where, you know, any opportunity could be your big break, could be the opportunity that will take you to that next step, right? And you don't really want to say no to these opportunities. Is it difficult to do that, to go, actually, no, for my own religion, I can't do that for the sake of Allah?
You know what? It's like, I think, our iman goes up and down and fluctuates. And one thing for me at least is like I try and make sure every single day that there's something that I'm doing that brings me closer to God in terms of learning or whatever it is, reading the Quran or something, that keeps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the forefront of my mind, because it's hard when you don't, but it's very easy when you do, because you have an understanding that if it's not something that's good, or it's not something that's going to be pleasing to God, there's going to be no barakah in it, no blessing in it. So I might book this role, I might compromise my values, book this role, that I might get so famous, so rich, whatever, and that could be the thing that destroys me. The fame destroys me, the money destroys me, I go down dark paths of hedonism, and that's it. And the opposite can be true at the same time. It can be me saying no to a role because of Islam and Islamic values and my religion that saves me from that, right? So it's really all perspective. At the end of the day, we don't have knowledge of the future. So all we can do is follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and trust that He knows best what He does.
I think you said it so beautifully there. I want to ask you, I mean, I could speak to you forever, but I want to ask you two important questions.
No problem.
One, I want to ask you, what would be your advice to reverts, newly reverts who have taken their Shahadah? What would be your advice to them? I know that's a big question, but my other question is, and I feel like this isn't talked about enough, what would be your advice to Muslims who are already Muslims to create a more supportive environment for reverts? What can they do? What can we do to bring new people into Islam and then actually support them after they've taken their Shahadah?
I think those are two great questions. When it comes to the reverts and my advice for them, it's hard. It's a hard balance that you have to draw between taking things slow and not becoming negligent of the religion by saying, oh, I'm a new Muslim, so it's fine. There's a very good balance, but I think the best thing you can do is just find a group of find brothers, or for the sisters, find sisters, Muslim sisters that are practicing, that value their religion, and that speak with a certain level of wisdom. I think that's the main thing. Is you can have someone that's knowledgeable, but if they're not wise about how they go about things or tell you things, it'll lead people down the wrong path. And so for the reverts, I would say just research your religion on your own. Listen and ask questions as well to people that are knowledgeable, and don't take from everybody. That's the biggest thing. I've noticed, especially reverts that I speak to that are newer to Islam than I am. I've noticed with reverts that I speak to that are newer to Islam than I am that they always get confused by the random person at the masjid, the uncle at the masjid that's told them that something's haram.
Yeah.
And something that they're doing is haram. When in reality it's not. Or there's a difference of opinion, or X, Y, and Z, or there's circumstances and conditions, and it's just, the reality is that you may think that just because now that you've accepted Islam that Muslims are perfect and everything, but Muslims are not perfect. Islam is perfect, and we know that. Islam is perfect, but Muslims are not. And not all Muslims know their religion. That's the sad reality. So don't just take from anyone. Take from your local imam, take from scholars and the shuyukh, and then you really can't go wrong when you do that. Because even if you get something wrong, it's not on you. Islamically, it's not on you either. But yeah, really just establish your iman and your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your understanding of what it means to be a Muslim, and then go into the details from there. And I think for the Muslims, it's a similar advice, which is, when you have reverts, you have to deal with them with a level of wisdom. There has to be a level of, understanding there. And if you're not equipped to do that, then don't say anything. It doesn't have to be, it's not, sometimes Muslims think that it's every single one of their duties to be the guide for this new Muslim. And the reality is sometimes it's better to know that you're not the person that's right for this job. and I know that we want, Muslims, they want, and especially practicing ones, they want the reward, they want the ajr, they are keen for it, and they're inspired by the new Muslim, and they think that they have to correct them on everything. But scholars and imams and shuyukh are versed in this, and they know how to deal with these people and the reverts in a better way. And the last thing you would want is to scare someone away from the religion of Islam because of how you treated them or spoke to them. So sometimes it's better to be quiet, better to just, be there for them as opposed to be there to tell them what to do. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Amazing. I think that was amazing advice. So, Nasheed artist, actor, and now beloved guest on the Today Show, Amin Davis, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We'll have to do something again, inshallah.
Inshallah.
With more time, and
Definitely.
I look forward to it, inshallah.
I look forward to it as well.